All right, let's introduce our political panel, and joining us as it is a sitting week right here in the studio, Labor MP Sally Sitou. Welcome back, Sally. And Liberal MP Zoe McKenzie is with us too. Welcome to you too, Zoe. Why don't we start with this NZYQ caseload, Sally? Quick run over the statistics for those not familiar. 149 people released since the High Court's decision last year, 72 violent criminals, 37 sex offenders. Why not seek the use of these preventative detention powers to re-detain some of these individuals?
I think there are two really important points to make here. One is that this was a decision by the highest court in the land, and any government of the day would have to comply with this decision. And the second important point here is that we are putting community safety at the heart of all the measures that we're taking. And this is something that I think the opposition will agree to, that community safety is one of the most important things. And that's why we've got 4 layers of protection to ensure that the community is kept safe. And the regime that we have put in place is one where we have worked with the opposition to develop. It's based on a model that they put in place not long ago. So I think that's the important thing here, that we're working collaboratively across the aisle to ensure that community is kept safe.
I think the argument put by the government, Zoe, is that it wants to make sure it has all its applications fully up to standard so that they face a good prospect before the court. What's wrong with that? Why would you present a half-baked case?
Greg, the problem is that the government has been brought kicking and screaming to every step down this path. You will recall we were recalled last December to pass the legislation in haste to provide for a detention mechanism after demanding that the government look at one. And as we discovered today in question time, there had been myriad meetings through August, September, October, advising the Minister's office that there was a potential for the decision to go the wrong way. So they've had 6 months, more than that. The judge in the case raised a concern about whether the detention was legitimate at the time. They were on notice. So the detention method could have been in place before the decision was handed down. What we do know is there have been 18 of these 149 released charged by state and territory police. Another 6 we know have breached their visa conditions. I asked the Minister today in question time whether any of the murderers, the sex offenders, the drug traffickers were being monitored, and couldn't get a straight answer.
Yeah.
So everyone's waited long enough to feel safe, but not enough is being done.
All right, you slightly jumped the gun on my next question, which was going to go to you, Sally, quoting Zoe, the question she put in question time today. Can we be certain that all of these individuals are being continuously monitored, at least, if, as you say, community safety is paramount for this government?
We know that they are being monitored because we have put in stringent layers of protection, including very strict visa rules and curfews. So it's disingenuous to say that they aren't being monitored, and it's also disingenuous of the opposition to be politicising this really important issue. They should be working with us to ensure that we're not whipping up hysteria, but that we are out there actively ensuring community safety, working together to ensure that these individuals who, again, I repeat, were released because of a High Court decision, that we are working together as parliamentarians to show leadership in this space and not whip up hysteria in the community.
All right, but that did happen. It did happen, didn't it, when finally some of these remedies are put to the vote in the Parliament?
Sure.
You are on the same page, right?
Absolutely, but therefore it's easy enough to answer the question that we've put. I think every single question went to Minister Giles today, and almost every question yesterday. It's easy enough to say this many have got ankle bracelets, this many, we're looking at detention measures for. At the moment, everyone's thinking, why did we come back in December when nothing seems to have happened? And frankly, the answers given in Parliament have been pretty disappointing.
Which might explain why the coalition's been targeting Andrew Giles. Move on to another announcement made today by the Attorney-General, Sally. The practice of doxing will become criminally outlawed. This is the mass distribution for malicious reasons of personal contact details. Is this something that, as an MP, you have received representations on? Why are we moving now exactly?
The the reason why these laws are moving so swiftly is because of what has happened to a large number of people in the Jewish community. And I think it is deeply distressing to see what they have been put through, and deeply saddened to see that their information has been put out there and they have received quite horrific attacks on their businesses and personally. And I don't think anyone wants to see that happen in this country. So I appreciate the speed at which these measures are being put in place, because we want to make sure that people's privacies are being protected.
Yeah.
But it also goes to the larger point about conflicts overseas spilling over into tension within Australia. And as parliamentarians, I think there's a role for us to play to ensure that we are just calming things down, not heightening tension, because we want to see social cohesion and a successful multicultural community where people of Muslim faith can live side by side with people of Jewish faith and really ensure that that multicultural success story continues.
Well, let's talk about that in the context of what's going on in the Middle East, but I will just give you the benefit of a quick one, Zoe, on doxing. Do you see anything objectionable there?
No, absolutely not. But what I see as objectionable is what we have seen within our community. I went to Israel in December, and just before I had the opportunity to have a tour of the Melbourne Holocaust Museum. That is an extraordinary and important and beautifully presented place of a terrible time in our history. And there's an amazing exhibition for young children showing what happened in Germany and other parts of Europe in the 1930s. And when you see the doxing and you see the other evidence of anti-Semitism throughout the Australian society, we must, as Sally says, act as one. I'm mindful that the action on doxing that the government has announced today was called for by Julie and Lisa and Allegra Spender on the weekend. So I am relieved that we are as one.
Okay. So this upswell of community tension or breakdown in cohesion, if you like, seems to be pretty directly related to the war in between Israel and Hamas. Do you fear a further aggravation of these tensions here at home if Israel goes ahead with the ground invasion of Rafah, which Penny Wong has been urging restraint on?
I would hope that the Israeli government does show restraint. It has been awful watching what is unfolding in Gaza. The attacks on the 7th of October were horrific, and those Israeli hostages should be released. But the people who are really paying the price is not Hamas, the terrorist organisation that instigated this. It's the innocent Palestinians and children in Gaza who are being killed by the thousands, and it is heartbreaking to see. And that the Israeli government are now considering bombing Rafah, where Palestinians were told that this was going to be a safe space for them, that they are now considering bombing that place is deeply distressing. So we need the Israeli government to ensure that they are protecting civilian lives, because no one wins out of this conflict. Anyone watching what is happening over there wants the conflict to end. The only way we can have peace in that area is to head towards a two-state solution where Israelis and Palestinians can live peacefully and with security.
Can this be simultaneously done, this, Zoe, being a ground invasion and safe passage or protection of some form for up to 1 million Palestinians who, as Sally says, were encouraged to move into the southern corner around Rafah?
Yeah, look, the Israelis are in an impossible situation, as was evidenced yesterday. Yesterday, 2 hostages were rescued. They were Argentine Israeli hostages. There is relief and gratitude in Israel, in Argentina, I read in the newspapers today, to get them back. But there are some 100 hostages still there. But what it did show is that the hostages have been moved, as have Hamas militants, terrorists, been moved into Rafah. So Israel faces the impossible situation of how on earth do you still secure those 100 refugees and get them out of a place where they're surrounded still by terrorist infrastructure, which is embedded within the civilian population. The only solution is for Hamas to give up the hostages and to surrender. That is the only way to get out of this safely, securely and as quickly as possible, because otherwise we're going to see a constant complication of the grounds of war. It's impossible when Hamas fighters don't wear uniforms. You can't identify them from the rest of the civilian population. It's an impossible situation. But Sally's right. 1 million people have fled there on the basis that it was the safe place to be. It's just that the terrorists have followed.
Yeah.
It's a very, very difficult situation.
No, it's a horrible situation, and it beggars belief that it might yet descend even further. We'll be watching on for that. Zoe McKenzie, Sally Sitou, thank you both for joining us once again with some considered remarks. We'll do it regularly throughout the year. Yeah, no. So